You don't have to be afraid anymore. I promise. You're safe now." Marlo whispered these words as rain poured down around them, her hand steady on the trembling man's shoulder. He sat collapsed against the hospital's side entrance, soaked through, his clothes torn and filthy, his eyes hollow with despair. The emergency room had turned him away. No insurance, no identification, just another homeless man the system had no room for. But Marlo Vanderberg saw something different. She saw a human being. 25 years old, Dutch by birth but American by choice, Marlo had learned early that kindness costs nothing but means everything. Her parents had died in a car accident when she was 19, leaving her to raise her younger brother Finn alone. She'd become a nurse not for the salary, barely enough to cover their modest apartment, but because helping others made the grief bearable. "What's your name?" she asked softly, kneeling beside him despite the rain soaking through her scrubs. "Grayson," he managed, his voice cracked and raw. "Grayson Pierce. But it doesn't matter anymore. Nothing matters." Something in his eyes made Marlo's heart ache, not just hopelessness, but the specific pain of someone who'd once had everything and lost it all. "It matters," she said firmly. "You matter. Come with me." Against every hospital protocol, against her supervisor's stern warnings about liability, Marlo helped Grayson to his feet. She brought him inside through the staff entrance, cleaned his wounds in a supply room, gave him scrubs to wear while his clothes dried. Her supervisor, Dr. Helen Crawford, found them there. "Marlo, what are you doing?" Helen's voice was sharp with professional concern. "This man isn't a patient. He has no paperwork. No, he has pneumonia," Marlo interrupted quietly, her stethoscope against Grayson's chest. "Severe dehydration, untreated infections. If we send him back out there tonight, he'll die. I know the rules, Dr. Crawford, but sometimes being human has to come before being right." Helen's jaw tightened. "You know I could fire you for this." "I know," Marlo said, meeting her eyes. "But I also know you became a doctor for the same reason I became a nurse. So please, just tonight, let him stay just tonight." The silence stretched between them. Finally, Helen sighed. One night, and this conversation never happened. Marlo found Grayson a bed in a quiet corner, away from the main ward. Throughout her shift, she checked on him, brought him warm soup, sat with him when nightmares made him cry out, and slowly, in fragments, his story emerged. He'd been a successful entrepreneur once, building a tech company from nothing with his business partner Marcus. He trusted his girlfriend Vivian completely, even signing papers she asked him to sign without reading them carefully. The betrayal came swiftly. Vivian and Marcus had been working together all along, manipulating documents, transferring assets, building a case that painted Grayson as unstable and incompetent. "I lost everything in 3 months," Grayson whispered, staring at the ceiling. "My company, my home, my savings, even my parents' house. They'd passed away years ago, and I'd put it as collateral. Gone, all of it, gone. And the worst part? I believed Vivian when she said she loved me. I trusted Marcus like a brother." Betrayal doesn't define you, Grayson. What you do next does. But her supervisor hadn't forgotten. 2 days later, Marlo was called into the administrator's office. "We received a complaint about an unauthorized patient," the administrator said coldly. "We have to let you go, Ms. Vanderberg, effective immediately." Marlo felt her world tilt. She needed this job. Finn was only 16, still in school. Their rent was due. But when she looked at Grayson's face in the waiting room, still weak but alive, she couldn't regret her choice. "I understand," she said quietly, gathering her things. Grayson was waiting outside when she left the hospital for the last time. "They fired you," he said, devastation in his voice, "because of me." "Because of my choice," Marlo corrected gently, "and I'd make it again." "Why?" Grayson's voice broke. "You don't even know me." "I know you're someone who deserves a chance. That's enough."
Marlo brought Grayson to her apartment, a tiny place she shared with Finn. Her brother, wise beyond his years from their shared grief, simply set another plate at their small table. For weeks, Grayson slept on the couch, helped with dishes, slowly regained his strength. "I want to start over," he told Marlo one evening, his voice steady for the first time. "Not to get revenge, not to prove anything to Vivian or Marcus, but because you showed me that one person's kindness can change everything. I want to be someone worthy of that kindness." "You already are," Marlo said softly. Grayson found work in construction, then night classes in coding. Marlo took a job at a clinic, though the pay was less. Finn watched them both with quiet understanding. This was what their parents had taught them, what loss had reinforced. People mattered more than comfort. 3 years passed. Grayson worked relentlessly, building a new software platform in the margins of exhaustion. His application for remote healthcare coordination caught the attention of investors. The company grew and grew. When Grayson finally stood in his new office, CEO once again, his company valued in millions, he wept. Not for the money, but because Marlo's belief had made this possible. Then came an unexpected knock at his door. Vivian stood there, older, worn, her eyes red from crying.
"I know I have no right to be here," she said, her voice trembling. "Marcus, he did to me what we did to you. Took everything. I've been homeless for 6 months, and every night I remembered your face when we betrayed you." She looked down, shame flooding her features. "I don't expect forgiveness. I needed you to know I'm sorry, that I was wrong, that destroying you destroyed me too." Grayson stood silent for a long moment. Then he thought of Marlo, of the rain-soaked night she'd chosen his life over her job. "I forgive you," he said quietly. "Not because you deserve it, but because holding on to hate would dishonor the kindness that saved me." He helped Vivian find housing, professional help, a pathway forward. Not reconciliation, that bridge was burned, but humanity. Because Marlo had taught him that we're all one bad decision away from needing grace. When Marlo arrived at the hospital for a shift at her clinic, she found Grayson waiting in the lobby, his eyes bright with emotion. "You saved my life that night," he said, his voice thick. "Not just from pneumonia, from giving up on everything good in this world. I built this company, but you built the man who could build it." He paused, pulling out a document. "I'm establishing a foundation, free health care for the homeless, and I want you to run it. Not as thanks, you can't repay grace, but as partnership, because the world needs more people like you." Marlo's eyes filled with tears. "Grayson, you taught me that one person's kindness can change everything," he continued softly. "Let's prove it can change everything for thousands." They stood together in that lobby, two souls who'd found each other in the rain, now ready to shelter others from the storm. Finn joined them, proud of his sister, grateful for the example she set. And somewhere across the city, Vivian took her first step toward rebuilding, not who she'd been, but who she might become. Because kindness creates ripples, and sometimes those ripples become waves. In a world that often measures worth by wealth and status, remember this: your humanity is your greatest asset. One act of compassion can light a path through someone's darkest night. Be the reason someone believes in goodness again. That choice, that single brave choice to see people as people, changes everything. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, subscribe, and comment. Let's spread more stories of kindness and hope together.